you talk about Randall Cobb now?
I can, yeah.
How much do you think he has left?
I think there's a lot left there. We've gone against him the previous 2 seasons in Dallas and then last year in Houston, and I think he had 8 catches for 95 yards a year ago against us. So I got a chance to meet him for the first time last night in the locker room. There was a lot of excitement in the locker room, and I just can't wait to kind of get him immersed in what we're doing and get him out on the field.
How much does he make it difficult to develop Amari since they play the same position?
I actually think he's going to be a big help in Amari's development. Obviously, there's a strong relationship there that goes back a long time with Amari's father being his coach at Kentucky, and I think there's always a learning curve for younger players, specifically at the wide receiver position. So I think he's going to be instrumental in Amari's development.
Brian talked about you guys being really creative with players and packages and stuff. Does this sort of even maybe push you guys creatively to another place, bringing in a guy like this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, first of all, I think I said it yesterday, you can never have enough good players. And specifically, it's always great when you bring in a veteran that's been in some big-time moments, that has his football acumen is off the charts. And but it frees up to help maybe Amari develop in some other roles that we could use him in as well. So the more pieces you have, the more creative I think you can be as a coach, and it also allows you. It's obviously it's a long season, and there's a lot of variables that play in, each week. And if you happen to lose a guy, it allows you to pivot and go a different direction. I mean, we had to do it a few times last year when we're out there with 3 halfbacks versus the Atlanta Falcons, and we've got Jamal and Aaron Jones playing receiver. So the more versatile your offense is, I think it just puts a lot of pressure on a defense in terms of, number one, they don't know what you're going to necessarily come out in, and it puts a lot of time, at least on the coach's plate, in terms of how you're going to game plan that.
What are your recollections of Dennis Kelly from back in 2018, and what does it mean to you guys to have a pure offensive tackle on the bench rather than kind of one of those slash guys that you got a bunch of those guys?
Yeah, Bill. Dennis, first of all, what a great person. He's going to bring so much to our locker room, and we already have a strong locker room, but when you talk about adding Randall and Dennis, I mean, that always gets you excited. But Dennis is he's a guy that shows up each and every day. I know last year he got the most time as a starter that he's had in his career, but he's a massive man, and I think it's going to be a pretty seamless transition, because when I left Tennessee, they named Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator, and a lot of the terminology stayed the same. So, I think it'll expedite his learning curve and being able to get him kind of going out there on the field.
Matt, we heard from both Brian and Aaron talking about how the possible addition of Randall was something that was discussed way back in February. Did that give you guys at least something to think about throughout the offseason, knowing that was a possibility, so you're not having to draw stuff up for Randall now that he's here?
Yeah, it's definitely. That was a conversation that was ongoing for a long time, and obviously there's a lot of challenges with that when it's not as easy when a guy's just a free agent. You're talking about a guy that's on another roster, and you got to, especially with some of the issues we were having with our salary cap, to make that possible. But in the end, it all worked out.
Hey man, you moved Davante around a lot last year, obviously, kind of giving it different, open in different ways. Does having a true slot receiver or a couple of true slot receivers change the way you'll use Davante at all?
No, I don't think so. I think the majority of our passing game, he was the focal point. And when you have an elite receiver like that, a legitimate, true number one, in my eyes, the best in the business, you're always going to try to incorporate him and make him a big part of your game plan. What it does is if teams want to focus on him and take him away. Now you got another guy out there that knows how to create and separate, and you can kind of go in another direction. It just gives the defense one more guy to kind of be concerned about out there.
Yesterday, Aaron had mentioned that a guy like Randall Cobb may be more valuable on, say, the Packers than when he goes somewhere else, has to learn a new system. Do you prescribe to that notion that a guy like Randall could be more valuable with Aaron as his quarterback than someone else?
Well, I mean, those guys got a lot of time on task together. They know each other well, and I think his learning curve will be expedited because he's going to know all the little intricacies of Aaron, and those guys have such a connection, just like Davante, and I think a lot of our receivers now, being a couple years in this thing together, where sometimes Aaron might just give you a look and you know what he's thinking. So absolutely, I think there's some truth to that.
Matt, you have to sit down there and tell him, there could be a time when you think that Amari Rodgers is better than Randall Cobb, or better for what you're doing, and that you're going to have to make some tough decisions on that. Do you have to sit down with him and talk about that?
I think that's ongoing conversation all the time with all our positions, trying to get the best 11 out there and try to use guys in different ways, again, to put pressure on the defense. And but yeah, that's something that we talk about almost on a daily basis. I think quarterbacks are kind of there are more of those personnel conversations when you're in that meeting room as opposed to anybody else on the team.
Matt, you mentioned a lot of things you liked about Dennis. You guys have picked up a lot of offensive linemen in the draft the past 2 years, and those guys take time to develop. How much does it mean to have another veteran voice in that room to help develop those guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's critical, and I'll tell you what, our offensive line group, this is as deep of a group as I've ever been around. So there is a ton of competition at that position, and I think the one thing we always stress about competition, it's going to bring out the best in everybody. So we're really excited about it. There's going to be a lot of shuffling on the line throughout all of training camp, trying to find the five that fit together the best, and then at some point, we'll get David back into that mix as well. So that group has been so versatile, and I think we've added a lot of versatility to that group as well throughout the draft. And then you add a guy that is a proven tackle in Dennis Kelly into the mix, and we're really excited just about the possibility of what we could have there.
How did Aaron look to you yesterday in this day one, having not been here all off season for his first practice? How did he look for you?
Well, I thought he looked great. I know the first play of practice wasn't the best, when you have a fumbled exchange with a brand new center, but I'm not going to harp on that too much. That happens. So, but yeah, I thought it was great. Just total command out there. The same thing we've seen the last 2 years.
Matt, are you just going through, the install review here for these first couple of practices? What are your goals for this first few before you put the pads on?
Yeah, it's just we're implementing our system in all three phases: offense, defense, special teams. There's no game planning going on out there. So, there's going to be some plays that, from an offensive perspective, that look pretty ugly, and vice versa from a defensive perspective. It just, you're trying to implement a system and not get into too much of the competing to game plan to win practice, because that's not what it's about. Our goal is to get ready for week one and then throughout the course of the season. So we're going to put some guys maybe in some uncomfortable positions that they're not used to be in to see what we can get from them.
Matt, do you prefer having Elgton Jenkins at left guard, and does adding Kelly allow you to do that more likely?
It potentially does. Elgton Jenkins, I just like him being anywhere on the field. He's such a dynamic player. I mean, he is. There's not too many guys that can play 5 positions. So for now, we're going to continue to give him some reps at left tackle, and we'll see. We know wherever we put him, we've got a great player.
All right, guys, we're going to turn it over to Sarah. Sarah, go ahead.
Yep, we have 3 in here. Go ahead, MK Burgess.
Hey, Coach, you talked about Aaron having total command, but How did Jordan Love look, back with everybody in front of all his fans after such great reps in the offseason?
Yeah, I think Jordan did a great job, and it was cool to kind of see Aaron coaching him up on some footwork things out there, and they've got a great relationship. So that's one thing that you can look, and it's always fun to watch Aaron coaching him up.
Steve McCarthy.
I think Kelly played exclusively right tackle for the Titans last year to play other positions in the past. What spots do you think he could play if necessary on the line there in terms of versatility?
I would say primarily right tackle, but we'll definitely look at him as a swing tackle, or but he is a tackle.
And last one, Chris Ross.
Hey Matt, you mentioned Aaron working with a new center. That new center is a massive dude. He's really tall. So when you coach quarterbacks, does that change anything when the center is such a big guy? I mean, this might be overly technical, but it is alarming to see a center that huge.
Yeah, no, he is a massive human. Matter of fact, I was talking to Aaron yesterday. He said this is by far the biggest center he's had. So, that's just something that's probably a better question for Aaron and Jordan, and just to see how, if that guy blocks their vision at all. But a lot of times as pass plays develop, there are passing lanes that the quarterbacks see through. So, but no, we're really excited about Josh, and think he's going to be a really good player for us for a long time.